Welcome back, friends. Today we are traveling to a tiny red dot on the map that defies every law of probability. Imagine a nation with no natural resources, not even its own fresh water. A place that started in poverty and within a single generation transformed into a global titan. Yes, we are talking about Singapore, the Lion City, a symphony of grit and grace. In the heart of the city stands the National Museum and the site which makes us Indian proud, where Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose once stood in 1943, right there on the Padang. Bose gave his stunning Chalo Dili call to the Indian National Army. It was in Singapore that the dream of a free India found a powerful voice. To walk through the war museums here today, which I also had the privilege, is to feel the weight of that sacrifice. A reminder that Singapore has always been a crossroads of destiny. But to truly appreciate the gleaming towers of Singapore every day, we have to look at the scars beneath the foundation. Singapore's success wasn't a stroke of luck, it was a response to being repeatedly pushed to the wall long before it was a British colony. This island was prize jewel contested by the great empires of Java and Sumatra. It has always been at the heart of the Malaya world, but its path took a defined turn. When the British arrived, they saw a port, but the people eventually saw a cage. The myth of colonial protection shattered during World War II, and from those ashes rose a fierce sense of self reliance. Singaporeans realized they couldn't rely on the British and they wouldn't be pawns of anyone else. This led to the most painful chapter of all, the divorce of 1965. Singapore didn't choose independence, it was thrust upon them. Expelled from the Federation of Malaysia, Lee Kuan Yew wept for a nation that had no hinterland, no water, and no guarantee of survival. But that rejection became their greatest strength. It birthed a unique poison shrimp philosophy, the idea that even if you are small, you must be too tough to be swallowed. They refused to let the British stay as occupiers and refused to let their youth to be just another colonial regiment. Instead, they built a national identity where every citizen, Chinese, Malay, and Indian, stood together. It is that same regimented discipline you see today. It's not about rules. It's about a people who know that a tiny island, excellence in only alternative to extinction. Talking about the ancient route and its Java and Sumatra connection, long before the British arrived, Singapore was known as Temasek, a sea town. In the 13th and 14th century, the island was a strategic prize contested by the Majapahit Empire, based in modern day Indonesia, that is in Java, and the Srivijaya Empire, based at Sumatra. A prince from Palembang at Sumatra, namely Sang Lie Utama, on the island saw what he thought was a lion and he renamed it Singapura, the lion city. This connects Singapore's DNA to the vast Indonesian archipelago long before it became a separate political entity, recalling the British era and the spirit of resistance, while Sir Stamford Raffles established it as a trading post in 1890. The local sentiment was never one of blind subservience. Unlike many other colonies that became mini Britons, the people of Singapore, a mix of Chinese, Malay, and Indian migrants, developed a distinct identity. A significant moment in Singapore's history was when Indian soldiers, the sepoys, stationed there revolted against the British in 1915. This foreshadowed the later refusal of many locals to serve as cannon fodder for the British Empire during the World Wars. When the British surrendered to the Japanese in 1942, the myth of British protection shattered. This was the turning point. Singaporeans realized that nobody would protect them but themselves. This fueled the refusal to remain a colony after the war. To further explain what I said earlier on the turbulent marriage and divorce, Malaysia, that is during 1963 to 1965, Singapore's path to independence was actually a struggle not to be alone. In 1963, Singapore joined the Federation of Malaysia. The hope was that Malaysia would provide a hinterland for resources like fresh water and a market for trade. The marriage was short lived. Ideological clashes over race based politics versus meteocracy led to frequent riots. On August 9th, 1965, Singapore effectively expelled from Malaysia. Lee Kuan Yew famously wept on television during the announcement. He felt he had failed the people by leading them into a future where they were a tiny island with no water, no food, and no army surrounded by much larger, often hostile neighbors. This trauma of being kicked out and left to die created a unique form of nationalism. It isn't just love of country, it's a siege mentality turned into a success story. The poison shrimp philosophy, as explained earlier, became its nationalist pride. After 1965, gentlemen, Singapore refused to let the British or any other power dictate their defense. They built their own national service system. Every Singaporean son serves. This isn't just about military training, it is the melting pot where different races and classes become one. A Singaporean's pride comes from the fact that they have no margin for error. They know if they stop being efficient, they cease to exist. This creates a high pressure but high achievement culture. While other nations struggle and ethnic divides, Singapore's nationalist feeling is built on a CMIO, Chinese, Malaya, Indian, and others model. They don't just tolerate each other, they are Singaporean first. But how did this economic miracle start? How did they do it? How did a country which imports everything becomes the place where every major industry, major power must be connected? It's simple but profound. The infrastructure, Singapore turned its geography into its greatest asset, becoming the world's most efficient port and a sanctuary of global trade. They traded natural resources for human resource, investing in education, firm rules, and a highly regimented yet welfare oriented society. Now, giving a personal reflection, on a personal note, Singapore holds a very special place in my heart. Each time I visited, I fell in love with it all over again. It's a place where you can see the future. My daughter Ridhima, an engineering graduate and an MBA in finance from Singapore Management University, now works there. She was invited by SMU on a scholarship, a testament to how the nation seeks out and nurtures global talent. As a father, there is a peace of mind that comes with Singapore. It is incredibly safe for a woman and it is a paradise for senior citizens. Despite the tropical warmth, the lush greenery eclipses the heat, creating a literal urban jungle that is soothing to the soul. So when I walk the streets of Singapore today, I don't just see a modern miracle of glass and steel. I see the triumph of the human spirit over geography. I see a nation that was told it couldn't survive, yet it chose to thrive. As a father, my connection to this land is now deeply personal. When I see my daughter Ridhima navigating her career, I see the cycle of excellence continuing. She is a part of a system that rewards merit over lineage and safety over fear. There is a profound peace in knowing that she and so many young women like her can walk these streets at an hour, protected by a society that values the dignity of its citizens as much as its GDP. It's a highly regimented nation. Yes, some might call it firm, but in that firmness, there is a deep seated welfare for the people. It is a garden where the climate is warm, but the social fabric is cool and composed. It's a place where you can find a temple, a mosque, and a church on the same street, and a hawker center where every creed shares a meal in peace. Singapore proves that you don't need vast lands or hidden gold to be a giant. You need a spine of integrity, a heart of young people, and a vision that looks beyond the horizon. As I look back at the journey from the calls of Chalo Delhi by Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose at the Padang to the soaring heights of the Marina Bay Sands, I am reminded that no matter how fragile a republic may seem, it can become unbreakable if its people stand as one. Singapore is more than a destination, it's a blueprint of what is possible when we stop making excuses and start making history. Thank you for joining me on the journey to Singapore, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, keep looking forward. Thank you, friends.